Let's head north now, and voters are beginning to turn on the Newman government in Queensland, and how, just months after its election.
The latest poll shows Premier Campbell Newman's dissatisfaction rating has risen sharply, while satisfaction in his leadership has fallen. For more, Queensland political reporter Chris O'Brien joins us now from Brisbane. Good morning, Chris. Is this just a one-off, or has there been a downward trend for the Newman government?
Well, Karina, there is a bit of a mini trend going on here. This is a Galaxy poll in the Courier Mail today. Last week there was a Morgan poll and a couple of automated telephone polls by ReachTel, and there is a trend carrying on here. There is a marked fall both in Campbell Newman's personal rating and, to a somewhat lesser extent, the LNP's rating. To put it into context, let's remember first of all, of course, that the LNP has a gigantic majority in the Queensland Parliament, 78 seats. They had the biggest win in the history of Queensland politics at the election in March, so they have a long way to fall if they're going to fall at all. But this is an interesting trend. Campbell Newman, this will be a good test of his resolve, because it seems to me that he's paying a bigger price personally in the polls than the party is for the unpopular cuts to the public sector.
And so what's behind the results?
Well, what's going on, of course, is a very effective union campaign, Karina, against the Campbell Newman's plans to trim the public sector. Several weeks ago, almost a couple of months ago now, he stood up in the Parliament and announced that Queensland had 20,000 more public servants than the state could afford. Since then, there's been some toing and froing about exactly how many of those public servants are going to be cut, but he let that figure get out of 20,000. So the unions have been campaigning relentlessly, staging regular rallies outside of Parliament to protest against 20,000 cuts. And it seems as though the rest of the population have caught on, because Campbell Newman's personal satisfaction rating has fallen from 64 to 44%. That's a very big drop, isn't it? And his dissatisfaction rating has increased to 49%, meaning he now, in fact, has a negative personal satisfaction rating, according to Galaxy. The party itself, the LNP, has dropped from 54 to 48% on the primary vote. Two-party, it's still clearly in front. It still has a 60-40 lead over the ALP. So that's why I say Campbell Newman appears to be paying a bigger personal cost for these cuts than the party is.
And there could be more bad news, not just for Campbell Newman's personal rating, but for Queenslanders, with the budget to be handed down in a fortnight.
That's very interesting timing, isn't it? Because there will be a climax, if you like, of all the bad news that's been predicted. But after that, there will be scope, plenty of time, 2.5 years after that to the next election. And surely, with the majority that big, we're almost looking at a two-term government. So, in effect, it's only been a little way into the term. So if they get the bad news out of the way, Karina, in the budget in 2 weeks' time, then they can start to turn things around. And the other interesting thing to watch for on September the 11th, on Budget Day here in Brisbane, is exactly how many jobs will be cut, to see whether we get anywhere near that 20,000 figure. Last week during the bad polls, Campbell Newman did say that we won't get near the 20,000 figure, so the language is changing. We'll keep an eye on it.
OK, Chris O'Brien, thanks very much for the update.